live.
Hi, friends.
Yes.
For the first time, we're not scrambling.
Yeah. We don't need to because we are with each other.
Yes.
We have this oneness going on.
So, we are
So,
talking about
yes, what topic are we talking about?
creationships.
Ooh. Now, y'all, you might want to smoke a cigarette after this one. Get you some coffee. I know it's Monday morning, but you might get to work. You might have to do yourself like this when you get in the parking lot. Woo, Lord have mercy. Because we got some shit to say about this.
We
And
do.
some people are gonna be like, "Oh my God, John, you're saying this." I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna go there." Because
I'm here for it.
here's the piece about it: three couples get married. Three of them. Three couples get married, y'all. Two of those couples in the United States get divorced.
If it's their first marriage.
So say more.
The statistics on second and third marriages
Mhm.
are like the divorce rate's even higher.
Yeah. So
The
you
more
gotta
times
ask
you do
yourself.
it, the more you're willing to undo it.
You gotta ask yourself. You gotta ask yourself this: why would one jump into an arena that's doomed to fail? Not for all. So I know somebody was like, "Oh, John, no, I'm not talking. This is not. I'm just saying." In the United States, the majority is like what's happening, and what we're going to talk about is how do people get there in the first place.
Hmm.
How many of y'all? I'm just curious. How many of y'all are in a relationship from somebody else's point of view? Y'all get me? How many of you are hanging in a relationship, actually living out what your mama, your grandmama, your uncle, your cousin, your sister, how their relationship was?
Hint. Most of y'all.
Just saying.
Most
And
of y'all.
how many of you do it because that's what everybody else did? Is that familiar? Well, that's how it's supposed to be done. When you go to a party, all the women in the kitchen and the men in another room watching TV, a sports event.
I think
Just
that
saying. That's not all the time.
yeah, no, I'm not saying, yeah. No, what I'm saying is like, I don't think that most people are even thinking this is the way it's been done.
Hmm.
So we started talking about this last week, and I was saying how my grandma cheated.
Yeah. Yeah.
My grandma cheated, and then all the boys, well, the majority of the boys were cheaters. But then I had an aunt that was bonkers. Like she also cheated.
Hmm.
But I was 12 when I looked at my mom and was like, you seem to be the common denominator in your terrible relationships, lady.
Hmm.
But my mom never once in her 47 years on this planet looked around and said, oh, it's me. Maybe I should do something different.
But
Maybe I
but
should stop repeating these ancestral patterns and try something a little different.
right, because how many of us live out of somebody else's obligation and not knowing it? And what I mean is that I'm gonna do it because that's how my family did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't believe. I don't. I know. No, it's believe. Is beliefs change. This is what I know. I know that relationships will be different for every individual.
Yeah.
I know that. I know it's gonna be. And when you try to mimic somebody else's relationship, unless you're mimicking it with the person that person is in a relationship, it probably is not gonna work.
Yeah. Even then, it probably won't work because you're not that person.
Exactly. And so I think those individuals who do have lasting relationships and they're healthy. You see, one of the things that I noticed when I was younger, I did not want to have relationships like some of my aunts and uncles that I observed. Now somebody said, "Ooh, John, you throw people under the bus." I ain't gonna mention no names. What I didn't is that when they got older, I didn't know how happy they were together. And yeah, they went through the storm, but if there's only if there's 70 years of marriage and 5 of them years is joyful, I'm not going to the penitentiary relationship. And I'm saying that, and it's not like, and it sounds like a judgment, but for me, it's just an awareness. I think that my kid's mom, Shri, and I have a greater relationship than a lot of our friends who remain married.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And I think our kids are fairly healthy because of the choices that we made once we decide to do that. And then knowing who you are. I mean, if I mean, I'm being vulnerable here. For me, I was saying to you before, most of my friends are women. I know that I remember there's somebody, one of my relatives, the one who might see this, I'm no offense, my cuz, he once made the mistake of saying, "Did your wife let you leave town without her?" And for me, I was like, "Are you talking to me?" I felt like I was in that movie Taxi Cab. Are you talking to me? You know, and the reason I say that is because what I have with Tori, we don't let each other do anything. We're our own fucking individual. Let? Like,
Right.
even that concept when I was like, who does that fucking belong to when we say that in 2021?
Legitimately. I'm trying to remember how this guy put it. I was seeing someone and he said something like, I don't remember how he put it, but my brain did that like record scratch thing of
Mm,
like, oh, that's an interesting point of view.
mm,
And interesting has a lot of judgment in
mm,
that instance, but it was along the lines of that paradigm of like, I think I was asking him to do something for me and he was like, well, if I have to. You don't have to do anything. You're a whole ass human being.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I want you to want to do something
yeah,
for me. Even
yeah,
if I ask, I don't want you to begrudgingly do it.
yeah,
I'm not your mama. You don't have to do
yeah,
anything.
yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's what people get tripped up. I mean, it's just like if I decide to go do something, and this is okay, this is Tori. Now, if I go do something, I'm hanging out with some friends, I go to a bar, I'm gonna call and let that person know.
Yeah.
But I'm not really asking for permission. I don't expect her to ask permission from me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I'm gonna do. I mean, like, now somebody I hear somebody saying because I'm being with my spidey senses picking up, well, what if they do it all the time? Then now that's another discussion. And what I mean by that is that if they do it all the time, they don't spend any time with me. Well, then you got to start asking what's important. And here's the other piece, because I work. Some of y'all might know. I'm gonna let y'all know. I do this group in Savati called the men's group. Okay, and it's for brothers who have some issues, some possibilities in relationship. I see. There are no problems in relationship. They have possibilities in relationship, and a lot of times people just don't know that sometimes when your creationship or relationship ends, it's over. That person's not wrong or bad, and you're not wrong or bad. It's just the end. It's like going to a damn movie, and then the credits come on, and it's time to move on. And I think that some people are like, well, that's not the way it used to be. Oh shit, you used to ride a horse. You used to be okay. So you're not riding no damn horse. You got cars with horsepowers, like 400 horsepower.
Mm.
So what would it take for you to be in the space of a possibility of being in a unique creationship with somebody else that you deem that to be? And that means that Tim Logan said something to me, and Tori and I talk about this once in a while. Like at the end of the year, are you willing to have a conversation about what else is possible with your creationship? And what if it ends that year? And being in the space of not taking it on personal, like I did something wrong or that person did. Sometimes I think that people come
How do
to
you
an
get there?
I think that, see, and here's the piece about it. It's really difficult to get there in this reality because we do the blame game and the judgment game. And in the process
Mhm.
of doing the judgment game, you actually, the judgment is what people gonna think about me if you leave me. Oh, dude, what did you do wrong? Oh, dude, you stupid. Oh, that bitch did it right. Man, if I wouldn't do that. See, those are
Yeah.
things that happen that I think that people, you need to cut some of that shit down. Turn it down. Turn the volume down. Because
Yeah.
you're not being uniquely to you. What's most important for me, like in my relationship, is that Tori and I talk. Here's some real talk. Yesterday we had a conversation, and I had the first conversation about with her about uh, with the COVID stuff we went through, with her coming down with this new possibility of kidney possibilities, I call it, what that did to me psychologically.
Mhm.
And on top of that, that's right on top of my mom having dementia. And so I realized that I was being bombarded. I was an allowance of being bombarded instead of like, and I started to think, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. That's what I told her. I said, I think I'm gonna lose my mind because this is uncomfortable. And with your help, Leila, and talking about some things and other people that I've spoken to, I realized that I'm directing more of that conversation with Tori for me to empower her so she knows that I'm not by myself with this. Now, it's not a blame because what I went to is, oh my God, I got to worry about her. She has to be okay. Blah blah blah. It was all outside of me, and I was gonna be preoccupied and not have a conversation with her about certain things. And she said to me yesterday, I appreciate Leila, I appreciate Dane, I appreciate Majestic, I appreciate when if you talk to your boy Arturo, you say just talk to your brother Derek, but include me in that too. Don't guard me from what you think my feelings are. And that changed the whole complex of it. Because what happens is I think that me, I'm gonna talk about y'all out there who listen to this. Sometimes I think we live in our head. And when you do creationship, it forces you to get out of your head and get present. And the best way of being present for me is ask questions, and you have to be an allowance. And I shared that with the brothers from Savalti all the time. You got to be an allowance. If you come in the house and somebody has their nose all up in the air and they walk around, don't just go to the assumption, oh, it's that time of the month, or oh, that bitch crazy. What about asking questions? Are you okay? Can we talk? You want me? You need space? And sometimes motherfuckers just need space.
Yeah.
But
I
you
think
only know
though,
that if you ask questions.
I think that what you're talking about is a level of emotional intelligence that most of us don't have.
Explain emotional intelligence to people. What is that?
You knowing or you getting yourself into a space where you could see that you were trying to rescue her and save her and protect her,
Mhm.
and then not making yourself wrong about that, and having the courage to go to her and say, this is what I've been doing,
Mhm.
and I don't think it's benefiting us.
Mhm.
I think we could choose something else. What do you think? If you don't know what you're feeling, not just like emotionally, but also like what sensations are happening in your body, and you don't know what thoughts and emotions are connected to those sensations or what thoughts are connected to the emotions, then you can't communicate on a level that allows you to have that kind of intimacy and that kind of connection with another person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I I really love my ex. He tried really, really hard in our relationship. Like nobody in 40 years has tried that hard with me ever.
Mhm.
But it doesn't undo the fact that dude would be triggered as fuck. Like he would have feelings going on in his body and he would have emotions happening and would have no clue. Like not a clue. So I could go to him and I could say, hey, I can see something's up. Let's talk about it. But because he didn't have the skill of knowing, oh, when my body feels like this and my brain is doing this, it means that I'm angry, or it means that I'm sad, or it means that I feel insecure, or whatever the feeling was. And when I feel that way, I act like an asshole.
Yeah.
And when I act like an asshole, she shuts down. Like, none of that ran through his awareness. He didn't have those skills. And so it was just a lot of us like pushing at each other.
Yeah.
So when you can have the awareness for you of your own like feelings and emotions and thoughts, bonus points if you can do it for your partner too.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can do it for your partner and your partner can do it for themselves, then you're like in there and you got a lot to work with.
And I want to say, one of the things I look at too is that I have to ask tons. Like when we first got Tori said, "Man, you ask a lot of questions," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm always like that. I get used to get in trouble in school because I talk too much. So I'm going to talk a lot in a relationship or creationship, I should say." Uh, but that awareness piece of your partner is the most one of the most important pieces for me. What awareness are you willing to have that you can be in question with your partner? What
Yeah.
awareness? And see, the issue in awareness is like, and like, I think that people have been dummied down. And I'm going to go with men especially. I remember being with some group of men, and this doesn't happen. This hasn't happened to me probably in the last 20 something years. So about like men don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it. I get really uncomfortable right now when people tell me you have to be a certain way if you're this.
Mm,
And I'm like, fuck all that. I'm gonna use awareness. So I'm gonna be all over the place.
yeah.
Because awareness allows you to go there. And I think that what's happened is that a lot of times, especially in my experience in the classes I teach with some of the men in the classes I have, is that no one's ever given them permission to go there. And they never seen another man do it. Like when we have conversations sometime in Savalti, they were like, "What?" Some kids like, "Well, I never heard that." And one guy, I remember one time a guy telling me, "Man, where were you 30 years ago?"
Yeah.
And so my realization with that is, I think that when you get in creationship, the communication piece, I joke with guys all the time. I say this, check this out. One or two instances of how you meet somebody in the United States. You go to a club. You go with your boys, or you go with your sisters, or whatever. The lights are turned down. Lights are not never bright like this. They turn down. You have one, two, three, four, five cocktails. You smoke a little weed, or whatever else you do.
This is why I'm single.
And then you engage with another, potentially for the rest of your life, from that incident. Or you base it on what that person looks like in the dark.
Mm. Damn, John.
So no wonder 2 out of 3 relationships today are doomed to be failure, because from the get-go it was based on stuff that did not allow allowance to show up, or not allowance but awareness. If I see somebody and they find it, me, I like women, like I like milkshakes thick. I like thick. Okay. But if I only go on the premise of something being thick, I'm gonna be jacked.
Right? Because what if there's broccoli in your milkshake?
Ooh, that's called a smoothie. And now where I'm at, I drink smoothies too.
You
So
want ice? You want broccoli in your ice cream?
it might be good. I had garlic ice cream before, and that shit was bomb.
Oh my God, I'm talking to a foodie. Carry on.
Yes, 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 yes. So anyway, but my point of it is that what awareness are you willing to be? Because once you add awareness in your creationship, you realize you'll never say this. Tori made me mad. Tori should
Mm,
never fucking make me mad. Ever. I get to choose to be mad. I realize that there's certain days that Tori wake up and she don't want to talk. Now I can go into all my feelings and be upset because she don't want to talk, or realize that's who she is. She knows that when I'm cooking in the kitchen and I'm creating something totally different, don't come down here talking to me because I'm talking to the broccoli. I'm talking to the onion. I'm getting the wine. And I'm pouring the wine. I'm talking to the wine because if you ever in the kitchen with me, only when I do the orgasmic conscious cooking on YouTube, when I do that, because my boy Derek Blocker told me, well, you got to put the recipe out there. Do I measure stuff? Usually when I go in the kitchen, like when I go in there tonight, I'm I'm at one with the vegetables, the fruit, the rice, the butter, the olive oil. I'm at one with it. I got a seasoning. And here's the piece about it. And this is awareness, y'all. I'm using analogy of cooking because I love it. Most of my spices are not marked. I'm aware what it is. My awareness is heightened. I can open the top. I can smell. I'm seriously. And so,
John's a
what is it
kitchen
like?
gangster.
What if I'm like that in my creationship? I'm willing to be that in depth with my relationship. That how spicy is my woman?
I love your energy so much. You're like, my spaces
Yeah,
aren't labeled.
man. You know what does she taste like?
Mm.
What does she smell like? I mean, when is she ready?
Mm.
Like you go in a relationship, oh my God, the person take forever to get ready. Well, you know that if you've been in a relationship or creationship with that person for a while and they slow, then get in the shower after them. But don't sit around
Right.
and count when you know that's what they be.
Yeah, 100%. Let me tell y'all what happens when you get into an experience with someone and you try to change them,
Oh, good luck.
or you settle for
Doo doo.
some crumbs.
Yeah.
It's a disaster. It is an epic disaster.
Yeah.
If the first and the last have taught me nothing, I learned the disaster that is when you try to change somebody and when you settle. And for anybody out there who's wondering, like I probably would have been wondering 6 years ago if I had been watching this broadcast, how do you not settle?
Choice.
Choice is the answer, but the choice of your desire.
Mm.
You choose what you desire.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are committed to that desire, you will never settle. It is only when you start to waffle. I guess I don't really actually need that.
Mm.
When
I'm
your
a
system is like, no, like this
yeah.
soup has to have broccoli in it.
Yeah.
There's gotta be onions in here.
Yeah.
Garlic is a must.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, I'll make the soup without the onions, the soup ain't gonna taste good.
Because I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, you're gonna be looking at that
You're gonna be
person.
looking for some fucking onions.
Yep. Yeah, and not in that store called your partner.
And not in the container called your partner.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think
Yeah.
that's the piece where people they're not willing to be in demand. They're not willing to ask for what they desire in the beginning. And like you said, the other piece about it is that I wonder how many people think that they can change. And I don't know if I can say this or not, but y'all know I got a potty mouth anyway. Anyway, your coochie or your penis is not going to change a person. It's not that powerful. People might think it's powerful, but the person's desire is what's going to be able to change that desire.
I'm just gonna tell a trashy story, and I hope my daughter doesn't watch
Yeah.
this stream. She already knows, but now she's about to find out some details. So my first husband cheated on me for 14 and a half years. The whole time we were together, about once a year, I found out he was cheating on me, which is the ultimate reason that I left. But I had a friend who I met while he and I were separated. And she heard all the war stories, all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he and I reconciled for 18 months. While he and I were reconciled, that friendship ended. And then he and I like officially ended our marriage.
Mhm.
And then they got together. And a year later, I found out that she was pregnant. I didn't even know they were still together
Mm.
because he had a girlfriend that wasn't her.
Yeah.
And so she is like devastated because now she's pregnant and she finds out about these 4 other women and she is like distraught. And I look at her and I go, because we reconnected because now she's pregnant and our boys
Mhm.
were friends.
Mhm.
But I look at her and I say, did you think you had diamonds up there? Like, genuinely, what made you think that you would be different?
Right. And I want to say something to people because people are like, oh my God, painting that person, that guy as a bad guy. No, he's not a bad guy.
No, he did what he could do.
He that's what he was. That's what he is. That's what he chooses in this 10 seconds. And the situation with it is that how many people stay in relationship thinking that they can change that or one day they're going to change. I think about some family members or some people that I was married to into the family and I saw some stuff and I was like, you think this person gonna change, but that's how they've been like ever since I've known them. And you have to be in agreement that that's what you desire. What do you like about that you're willing to stay with it? And when you don't like it, are you willing to leave without
Or
judging that person?
or without judging yourself. Not just what do you like about that, because that might be really hard for somebody to touch, especially in this, 30 minutes that
Yeah,
we're here.
yeah.
But what else do you love about the relationship that makes what you're tolerating tolerable? Because that's more why you're staying. That's my experience, not just in my
Say more about
own.
that. Say more about that. You stand because of what?
My ex-husband called me. This is the one that cheated on me.
Uh,
He called me one day. I was like in a horrible mood. This was pre-caller ID, so I didn't know who was calling me. I just picked up the phone and put on my perky voice and I was like, "Hello?" To which I was greeted with, "What's wrong?" So from Texas to Illinois, he had a feeling, followed that feeling up with a phone call, and could tell from my hello that something was wrong.
mhm.
11 years after we split up, I texted him and said, "Hey, can you run to the store and get me some, like, for those of you who don't know, I like fully cut him off for several years, like would not talk to him if it was not related to our children. And even if it
Mhm.
was related to our children, I kind of grunted it in his direction. I had work to do. But I texted him and was like, "Hey, can you go pick me up some orange juice and some bone broth?" To which he replied, "What flavor of bone broth?" And came back with my orange juice. 11 years after we split up, he knows what orange juice I like.
Yeah.
11 years after we split up.
Okay.
He also knows that I'm not going to change the light bulb in my car. I'm just not. I mean, I eventually might, but I'm not in a rush. And so he pulls into my driveway. No, he came to pick up my daughter, and I ended up on the phone with him, and he said, "Did you get the light fixed in your car?" And I said, "No." And he said, "I'm going to come do it." Because, like, he did car stuff.
And the piece about it too, and I think if you're willing to let go of the feelings part of it, and we can talk about feelings, and that's another thing we can do, talk about feelings. If you're willing to let go of the feelings things and you let it's like wine, fine wine. Wine gets better with time. Individuals do too, because what happens, your awareness is that's what this person is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you let go of some stuff. I mean, I've been talking about letting go all year, this new year, and let go of that control part in the relationship.
Yeah.
And that is one of the demons of relationship. I'm gonna control this person.
We'll
I got a
talk
friend
more
right now.
about this.
Ooh, it's almost that time.
Right. We'll talk more about this. But like the thing is, I was willing to tolerate being cheated on
Hmm.
and being lied to in small doses
Hmm.
because I got everything else. Like, he listened to me so well that his family thought we cheated at board games.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that we cheated, it was that we actually talked to each other and he
Yeah.
actually listened to me.
Yeah.
But I also require a partner who's going to be honest with me.
Yeah.
So I came to a point where I had to realize he likes to lie.
Yeah.
And I'm not available for that.
Yeah.
And that was the bottom line of what ended our relationship.
And that's the awareness, like, I'm not willing to have that anymore in my world. This
Yeah.
is over.
Yeah.
And that's healthy. And creationship is like that. And
Mhm.
creationship is, like, I'm gonna say this in closing, it's created by those individuals in that creationship.
Yes.
I was gonna say one or two people. Some people might be multiple people. That's just the
Whatever.
way people roll.
Yeah.
But
Um,
it's that time.
John's
It's 30
turning
minutes.
into a pumpkin, and before he goes to become a pumpkin,
Yes.
I want to invite you guys to our class this Saturday,
Yes.
Plantation to Playground. The link will be
Woo-hoo.
somewhere.
Yes.
And reach out to one of us individually if you have questions.
Yep. And you can reach at www.beingjohnashford.com. But I'll put that in there later in the comments. We'll see you all next Monday. Or nope, we'll see you some of you guys Saturday.
Yeah.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.